It's been 2 months since the third episode of the Amazing Digital Circus dropped and graced not only YouTube, but Netflix as well. Just like with the previous 2 episodes, it's time to look back now that the mystery of Mildenhall Manor has had a chance to cook. And I'm immediately struck by a question, one that I was not expecting to ask. Has the Amazing Digital Circus lost its luster? Is it failing? Only 46 million views when compared to the unbelievable 359 million that the pilot has? What does all of this mean? Well, I am here to break down the numbers, the impact, and the narrative strengths of the Amazing Digital Circus now that we've had time to simmer with 3 episodes. And as well, I'm going to look at what all of this means for novice authors and aspiring creators. So, without any further ado, let's buckle up with Camille's harem and dive into the sticky ectoplasm of Gooseworks' existential horror comedy show.
Hi, I'm Ghostly, and I'll be your guide today. It's up to you to decide.
What, Jax?
What? I thought we were supposed to capture all the ghosts.
As of October 6, according to Netflix, the show got around 3.5 million views on their platform compared to the 15 million views the third episode had gotten on YouTube. Both view counts were enough to get the Amazing Digital Circus trending at number 1 on YouTube and number 3 on Netflix worldwide. And as Glitch pointed out on social media, this was a first for indie animation and was a rare achievement for any show or movie. That alone is worthy of praise. Though I was a little perturbed to see that the Nielsen ratings and other outlets didn't take notice of the Amazing Digital Circus's success because it could not hold that trending status for a full week. Which means that major outlets and studios now have an excuse to dismiss the show as a mere flash in the pan. But let's dig a little bit more into the numbers. While recording this video at the beginning of December, the views on YouTube were over 46 million for episode number 3, The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor. Netflix clocked 3.5 million views in one weekend for the whole series. Let's say that everyone watched straight through all 3 episodes, which would mean that episode 3 picked up just over 1 million views on Netflix. However, the show was trending for a full week on Netflix in various regions, despite never getting more concrete numbers. Beyond that, we can probably safely say that the show has accrued even more views beyond the 3.5 million. So let's conservatively guess that episode 3 got 3 million total views, adding up for a respectable 49 to 50 million view count for episode 3 alone.
But that's not something we need to deal with today.
Thank goodness this is all a dream, right, Pomni?
Respectable? What am I saying? That's incredible! Most studios would murder for numbers like that! 49 to 50 million views? Holy cow! However, it is a part of an interesting trend of decline for the series, and it follows in the footsteps of other indie productions. A quick point of comparison. The very popular Hell of a Boss series hit its high with episode 1, which came after its pilot, clocking in at over 75 million views. And now, the newest episodes that have been released for the series have garnered anywhere between 2/7 or 3/7 of that, meaning that you can expect the newest episodes of Hell of a Boss to end up anywhere between 14 to 21 million views averaging out. When we look at the Amazing Digital Circus with its pilot episode boasting over 359 million views, and then a reduction to 134 million views for Candy Carrier Chaos, and then The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor having 46 million views on YouTube, we can see a roughly 1/3 reduction from episode to episode. Now, the earlier view count is definitely built on repeated viewings, and we have to consider the impact that Netflix has had as well, which again could mean that the real view count for the episode is more around 49 to 50 million views. However, if this reduction keeps up, that will be a point of concern for the franchise and should be something that we investigate further in later updates. Now, if we turn our attention away from the views and look at what keeps the production running, i.e. money, we come across something that larger studios should take note of, even if this show was not trending on Netflix at number 3 or even number 1 for a whole week. Something to take note of. According to Glitch, 80% of all funding for their shows comes from the merchandise that they sell. That means that under the safe assumption of $3,000 per million views, if it gets all of that money recycled back into its budget, that Glitch is making their show at a budget of $1.5 million per episode. Yes! The math checks out. However, I think that this actually isn't the case, and I'll break down why that is, looking at their earlier shows like Meta Runner and Murder Drones. But here's the math. Let's say that each episode does cost $1.5 million to make, and it makes around 80% of that supported by merchandise sales alone. That means that Glitch has been making $1.2 million on sales for each of their episodes in terms of the merch that they sell. That means that they're literally making millions and millions of dollars. But really, I actually think that we can lower these numbers a bit, because it's undeniable that even though these shows are really popular and everything, that Glitch is not throwing around really that massive amount of money per episode. And where exactly then could some of this money be going? Well, for one thing, we know that they're opening up a themed restaurant. In fact, they have opened a Amazing Digital Circus themed restaurant in Japan, and we also can now see that they've sped up production for the next episode, The Amazing Digital Circus, while also working on the Gaslight District, which means that we've now got shorter breaks between episodes 3 and 4, and holy cow, that means that they do have a much greater budget. Woohoo! And thinking of the budget, Glitch has to work on really a shoestring budget, at least for now. Think about this. Meta Runner and even Murder Drones were actually made at a fraction of what Hollywood normally spends on their shows. The $1.5 million figure that I threw out earlier is part of the industry standard. That is, if you've got big money in Hollywood backing you up. However, Glitch doesn't. They don't. It's all in-house, which means that if we're being very charitable for what they are able to do, and I do mean that we're being charitable, that we're looking at $300,000 to $500,000 spent per episode of The Amazing Digital Circus. And again, we're being charitable. They're lucky if they actually have those kinds of funds when starting out. So when we take all of that into consideration and we look at the 46 million views and multiply that by $3,000 per million view, that's $138,000 that would be recycled back into the production for episode 4. And that's much more in the ballpark of what Glitch has revealed with their 20/80 split between views and merch in terms of revenue and for supporting their shows. Which means that Glitch, by this metric, is still actually making huge bank and selling their plushies, posters, and other memorabilia for a decent profit. And as I brought up nearly a year ago when looking at how Disney lost to Glitch in terms of profitability, if their view retention is good for a video, you can actually easily head into $5,000 to $6,000 per million views. And given how good ad revenue has been in the last few months, despite what a lot of people have been saying and complaining about, when you actually get good viewership retention, you're getting good money, even on this really small channel. I've been surprised what's happened. I would not doubt that Mildenhall Manor has raked in actually more around $230,000. And if the 20/80 split for the show investment holds true in this scenario, Glitch is walking away with loads of money for their other projects and to keep their company growing. Now, I've been throwing around a lot of numbers here, and the honest truth is that unless Luke and Kevin open up their ledgers and their accounts to us to scrutinize, we won't know the real numbers for certain. But when we look at the speed with which we are getting the next episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, including ever-increasing quality for each episode, plus Glitch In as a website, hangout for fans, that costs money to make and to maintain, and that there's an Amazing Digital Circus-themed restaurant in Japan, which also costs money, more employees brought into Glitch, and a rapidly expanding selection of merchandise, it's clear that business is very good over at Glitch. And so what I can conclude is this, is that despite the disturbing decline in viewership for each episode of the Amazing Digital Circus, all signs right now point to the company actually doing really well, unless they're running up the charge card without us knowing about it, which would be really horrible. We're just going to have to see. But all signs are actually pointing to the show doing really well. It is a financial success, and the moment that you begin to go online, or you go to conventions, or even talk to people out on the street, you're going to find that a lot of people actually know about this crazy little show now, and that it's gaining popularity. It's picking up steam, and with it now being on Netflix, not only is it going out to even more people, but it's opening up all kinds of doors of opportunity. And that leads me to talking about, what does this really mean now for novice writers and for aspiring creators here on YouTube? What this means is that there are now greater possibilities for loads of us moving forward. Indie storytelling is becoming a very viable form of industry, and it's something that more and more people are looking towards. Plus, with Glitch getting a fantastic deal over at Netflix to be able to simultaneously stream the Amazing Digital Circus on Netflix and on YouTube, and that YouTube gets to go first. This paves the way forward for other popular shows and creators to demand a similar treatment, which, if indie animation is given a greater platform, it will have a chance to reach out to more people, grow even more popular, be beneficial to Netflix, but even more importantly, be beneficial to those of us who are looking for new and innovative storytelling that breaks away from the degrading Hollywood mold, because Hollywood is stuck in a doom spiral of prequels, sequels, and remakes, and is not embracing the bold, the innovative, and the creative. Furthermore, what Glitch has been doing proves that this can be a sustainable industry. However, something to take note of, not everyone will be as successful as Gooseworks and Glitch Productions. For their success stories, you have 100 others who either fail or don't make it quite as far. Just look at Dungeon Flippers. This incredible, beautiful, amazing show just barely managed to make its goal of $50,000 in a Kickstarter in order to ensure a second episode. What this means is that if you want to go this route of being an indie storyteller, you can't go into this expecting to make big money. That's a rare story still. However, that doesn't mean that this option isn't viable. This is where the real question actually comes in. Something that I think all of us need to ask ourselves as authors, as creators, as animators, as artists, and the likes, is this. And this is something that Brandon Sanderson once said, and I'll reiterate it here. Is it worth all the work? Even if you or I never sell a single copy, get a single view, or receive a single comment, is all of this work, is all of this passion, is all of this investment worth it? If the answer is yes, then do it. Do it. If you ask yourself this question and you say, no, I don't think I can do it, then that's okay. Step back and have fun being creative on your own. That's absolutely fine. Your work does not need to go before the masses. Being creative on your own is so amazingly fulfilling and adventurous, and you can still improve and become a better person and a better artist without having to share your work, without trying to make it within the industry. However, if you're willing to take the plunge, if you're willing to risk it big, and admit to yourself that it's worth it, and I'm willing to accept all these risks, even if I never get a single view, sell a single copy, or the likes, it's worth it to do this, then go on ahead, because the opportunities continue to grow. More and more people are showing that this is something that is sustainable, that you can actually make money on, and that there are wide audiences waiting to accept new and inventive stories. We crave it. We crave people's passion. We crave the inventiveness. We want new stories because we're not getting it from Hollywood, and Hollywood is draining the traditional publishing industry dry of all its stories, forcing them to go and chase fads rather than tell great stories. If you want great and inventive and new, fresh feeling stories, indie animation, indie storytelling, independent publishing is where it's at. And because Glitch is helping to pave the way forward with other great creators like Liam Vickers, Gooseworks, VisiPop with over a hell of a boss, and yeah, sure, looking over to smaller guys like Trevor over with Dungeon Flippers, they're showing that it is viable. They're showing that this route is sustainable. They're showing that there are thousands, even millions of people who want these kinds of stories, and we just have to make it possible for them to get them. And if so, it not only enriches us on a personal level, but it can enrich so many other people. And hopefully, it also means that it enriches you well enough that you can dedicate yourself to doing this amazing storytelling full time. However, it is still a risk. Just remember this, that for every great success story, there's 100 other stories where someone failed or didn't quite make it the way that they hoped that they would. But again, that's okay if you're willing to assume that risk and be the creative. Push forward and do what your heart tells you is the right thing to do, because you can make it happen. So, in conclusion to this particular video, we're going to have to continue to look at Glitch Productions and see what they do. How does the Amazing Digital Circus continue to unfold in terms of popularity going forward? Because right now, even though we've got a serious 1/3 reduction in viewership, which is a little bit disturbing, the signs are pointing to that this is still working, that they're making money, and that they're opening up all kinds of new opportunities, not only for themselves, but for other creators. And here is the final thing that I will say, is that when you go back to look at The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor, it is a great installment overall. It is a great standalone story, but not only that, it helps to further build up the world, introduce us to even more of the mysteries that are unfolding within the Amazing Digital Circus, and it brought Pomni to a whole new level of being able to confront this horrific world. And she now has a great ally and friend in Kinger. She's got a better perspective going forward, and that perspective will be challenged in episode 4. We got great character development, something which so many other movies and shows could not do with an hour's worth of runtime. We got bona fide great character development for Pomni, and now it's going to get challenged in the upcoming 4th episode. The storytelling is great. It's resonating with people. It is successful. The animation is gorgeous. It's inspiring tons of people. I really do think that really it's just open horizons and up and up and up from here. The numbers, however, are still a very interesting game that we are going to have to pay attention to, because as we get more numbers, as we get more data, this will help us to better understand the true nature of what is unfolding behind the scenes and understanding the mechanics and business behind this amazing story, so that way others like you and I who are interested in pursuing being our own storytellers can try to replicate and learn from what Glitch Productions is doing and make it work for us in our own personal situations. That is the goal. That is the dream. Let's go forward and do.
Congratulations, my little ironclad waffle cones!
Now, after hearing me waffle on and on about all of this for quite some time now, if you would like to support this particular YouTuber and author in his works, then please check out the books that I myself have published. I just released a new one, A Study in Blood, which is a murder mystery story, not quite as lighthearted as The Mystery of Mildenhall Manor, and I would even dare to argue far darker in terms of content and what happens to the characters. If that is something that interests you, then please do check it out. It would help me out a whole lot, and I hope that you enjoy the book. But otherwise, thank you so much for joining us on this incredible adventure that we call writing, and until the next video, y'all, tschüss.